definitely not 5 minutes to landing, and I love that for some reason that's up at the bottom. That just perfect way to start was with a random 5 minutes to landing. That was yesterday, and that was for Perseverance. And that just happens to be the topic today of our special episode of Space4U Live. And we have one of the best SciComs out there. She's been doing amazing work recently, working for Space.com. Chelsea Gohd, how's it going today? Busy day for you yesterday. How are you doing? How are you recovering?
I'm doing great. I mean, the whole week is busy, but, busy in a really great way. Yesterday was amazing. I got to be at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab in California for the landing, which is where Mission Control for Mars 2020 and for the landing is located. So just really exciting all around. And now that it's safely on the ground, I can kind of breathe a little easier.
So let's, for those that may not know, let's talk a little bit about, the organization, the news group that you work for, Space.com. I'd be shocked if the people that follow our channels don't know, but with the Discovery Center, we sometimes get families and new people to it. So let's talk about what Space.com is, what you all do, how long you've been like the leader in the industry for space news.
Sure. So Space.com, I've been a Space.com fan forever, so it's really amazing to get to work for them. We're a space and science news site, space all day, every day, everything in space flight, space science, planetary science, human and robotic exploration of space. If it's about space, we're probably covering it with written articles and videos, sometimes even live videos, as you may have seen yesterday. And Space.com has been around for a little over 21 years now. So we've been in the game for a hot minute. Yeah.
And so you started out as an intern, right? Yes.
I got my start at Space.com as an intern back in the day, and then freelanced for Space.com for a while before I finally came on board full time. So I've done a lot of different things at Space.com, and they can't get rid of me. I'm sticking around.
So you stuck around, and now you've actually been doing a live stream show for them on Fridays, right? And it's called Space Chat. So tell us a little bit about Space Chat and the format and how people can join in the conversation and what you do.
Totally. So Space Chat is a weekly show every Friday. It's usually live, occasionally pre-recorded if we know that things are going to be busy and we're going to be away. But every week I either go on live or go on video and I talk about a new topic. Obviously, this month has been all about Mars, but I talk about a new topic, and then the best part of Space Chat is I get to answer everyone's questions. So whether they're asking questions live on our Facebook Live, or sometimes people tweet questions at me, or they send questions over email, we gather all of those questions together and I answer them on video. So it's really a lot of fun, and we explore new topics every week, and oftentimes the topics we explore are ones that people suggest to us in those comments or over social media. So it's a lot of fun because I get to hang out with the viewers and the readers.
Fantastic. And so obviously recent topic for you was Perseverance, right? It was like it has been for all of us. So let's talk a little bit about it for those that don't know. Yesterday, you may know that we landed again on Mars. It is a rover called Perseverance. But if you don't know, there's certain pieces to the mission itself that a lot of people may not know about. They know, oh, hey, it's looking for life, but they might not know about the helicopter. They may not know about this and that. So we want to talk a little bit about that. First up, is that search for life, is that it is going to be looking for life. So let's talk a little bit about what that means, because it's the first mission to do it since Viking, which is exciting. We've learned a lot since the 70s, so rovers are a little different than they were then. So let's discuss that a little bit of, what it's looking for and how it's looking for it and those instruments aboard.
Definitely. So one of Perseverance's main science objectives, as you mentioned, is to find concrete evidence, which would be the first concrete evidence that there was life at one point on Mars. Now, of course, other rovers and landers have collected data that has helped in the search for life and in the search to finally put an end to the question, was there ever life on Mars? But Perseverance is explicitly going to be searching for it. And it's going to do that with a number of tools and experiments. The main tool that Perseverance is going to be using to look for life actually has a really funny name. It's called Sherlock. And it's at the end of the rover's 10-foot-long robotic arm. And using cameras, lasers, a spectrometer, using all kinds of things inside of it, Sherlock is going to be looking for different minerals and compounds and organic materials that could help to confirm that life was on Mars. Now, funny enough, Sherlock, the instrument, actually has a helper named Watson. And while Sherlock only takes black and white photos, Watson has a really great color camera. So Watson is going to be helping Sherlock take really great high definition photos of the material on Mars. So now, in addition to observing on the surface, the rover is also going to be collecting samples as part of the first ever sample return mission on Mars. And while Perseverance might find evidence of life on Mars on its own, by bringing a piece of Mars back to Earth, scientists can not only confirm that data, they can also continue to study that Mars material as technology improves here on Earth. I mean, even still today, with our advanced technology, we're studying moon rocks collected decades ago. So the entire mission, not just the rover's instruments, are really going to be searching for life in a way that we could have only dreamed of just years ago.
And this, and you mentioned a little bit about it, and there's going to be obviously other pieces to it, is this sample return mission. This is new. So while with the sample return mission, that's not happening today or tomorrow. We don't even know. This could be a decade from now. We don't. It's going to be one of the future missions going to Mars, but it's collecting things now, and it's going to have the ability to do some science there. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. While Perseverance is going to be collecting samples that we don't think we're going to have back on Earth until the 2030s, probably at the earliest, that doesn't mean that the rover isn't going to be collecting data on its own. Using that Sherlock instrument, using its suite of cameras, using a ton of technology on board, it's going to be collecting so much data on its own on Mars. And especially because of where it is on Mars, that data is going to be really interesting. It landed in a place called Jezero Crater. It was kind of a tricky place to land. It was a little risky, again, landing in a crater on another planet, not that easy. But the reason scientists chose it is Jezero Crater actually billions of years ago, billions and billions of years ago, was
billions and billions.
me in my sleep all the time. It was an ancient lake and a delta system. And, you know, we know here on Earth, where there is water, there is life. So we think that if there really was life on Mars, it was where this rover landed. So it's in the right spot to find life.
And it's exciting. So there are new pictures that are coming out constantly. So here's what I think we were all stoked about is we're all sitting there and they have barely stopped clapping when Perseverance sent back the first picture, black and white. And it's just, I wish I could have been in that room. But this is some of the pictures that they've been putting out. And we're going to get more to the science of it, but these are just too cool not to share. One of them, this is the first color picture from Mars. I don't have the one from yesterday. I want to try and find it from the original one, like the immediate one back. But this is the first color photo of Mars from Perseverance. This is a picture of it being dropped down on the sky crane onto the Martian surface, which is crazy to me because it's like we don't only send rovers to Mars. We send rovers to Mars and we put them in giant airbags to bounce them onto the surface, or we use something like a sky crane twice now successfully and put it on the planet. And then of course there's also the fact that here is a picture of HiRISE moving in, I don't know exactly what orbit it's in, flying at crazy speeds, takes a picture of this little tiny thing landing on Mars, and that little tiny thing is Perseverance, and that's its parachute. So just what we've seen in the first 24 hours is crazy. So it's going to be
totally crazy.
It's going to be amazing. Yeah. So, and we're talking a little bit about the cameras, and there's not just like one or two. There's a lot of them. So what does it need that many cameras for, and just how many cameras does it have?
Definitely. I'm actually blanking on the exact number of cameras, which is very embarrassing.
Honestly, I pitched it to you because I couldn't remember. I think it's like 29, and I was going to Google it just in case.
It's because it has cameras that are kind of their own piece of equipment on the rover, but also a lot of the experiments and instruments like Sherlock, like Watson, have their own cameras as part of those tools. And, 50 years ago, Apollo astronauts, when we first started launching humans to space, we're like, oh, should we bring cameras to space? We very quickly realized that it's really important to bring cameras to space. Yeah, really important.
23 total.
23 total.
23 total. I said 29, so I was 6 over, but okay. Yeah.
You're close enough.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, but not only are they all different types of cameras, but these images can tell us so much. Obviously, there are a suite of scientific tools that can, determine things like what minerals are in the rocks we're looking at, is there organic material there, but even just a really, really up close, high definition, really great photo of a rock on Mars can tell us maybe how it formed, what could have been there. Was there water there at some point? How is it reacting with the environment around it? Cameras are also an important part of continuing to monitor where the rover's going. It has to be able to see where it's going, and also how it's doing, right? And, like if we look at things like the Mars helicopter, I want to see the Mars helicopter fly, right? I don't know about you, but I really do. And so by having cameras on the rover to watch the helicopter fly from afar, which is going to be unbelievable, we can not only study what's happening, which is the whole point, but we can be a part of the experience. And I think that, it's obviously important for scientific reasons to have those cameras. It's totally invaluable information. But by connecting humans on Earth with this mission, it makes it just that more apparent why it's important, why we're doing this, and just how cool it is.
100%. And for those that just heard what she said, maybe you don't understand, you freaked out a little bit. Yes, there is a helicopter I believe it's under Perseverance.
It's literally in the belly. I checked yesterday with a NASA engineer. It is under something genuinely called the belly flap. That's what they called it. NASA engineer, out of my hands.
Hey, I mean, listen, NASA has so many different things to name. Everything is named at NASA. It doesn't matter what you do. Yeah, everything is named. So if they just wanted to go with belly flap, I can't blame them if they just want to get back to work.
Exactly.
So
it's a cute name, and you don't have to think too much. It's obvious. Oh, it's under the belly flap. We all know where it is.
Now everybody knows where it is. So there's a helicopter there. This technology. Hold on a second. I hit the wrong button. I did not mean to do that. So it's a technology demonstration. And something's going to fly on another planet. Like this is as Rich over here at Space Foundation put it yesterday, it's not a Wright brothers moment. It's a Wright sisters moment because Mimi Ung, if you don't know who Mimi Ung is, please go look her up. She's incredible. She was on our Roving the Red Planet event that we did last year. If you haven't seen that, please go see it. Mike Watkins from JPL. And it's got, Jim before he left, Tom Zerbuchin. Zerbuchin. I'm sorry. Zerbuchin. Okay, thank you. Sorry, my fault, man. You're a favorite, but I can never say it right.
He prefers Dr. Z anyway. Yesterday, I congratulated him on the landing, and he just started dancing. It was a magical moment. It was just a magical moment.
I love it. Like his personal Facebook is great because he's one of the few people that has such a high level position that's just like, if you're a space nerd, he doesn't care. He will, like, he's something. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Tori Bruno in that sense that Tori will pretty much answer anybody that tweets at him. He has so many people that are a part of his, like regular Facebook. And he shared his story about when he first came here and that just everything about that and what's led to this amazing career that he's had. And you're just like, it's just so awesome. Like, just, it's so great to see that. And there's so many faces and voices there, and Mimi Ong is one of them. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Ingenuity is the name of the helicopter. What a great name. The kids did a great job of naming Perseverance and Ingenuity. So, let's talk a little bit about the helicopter. I mean, something's going to fly on another planet. I mean, you got to be excited about that, right? And, of course, pictures, videos, we're going to get to share in it.
Yeah, the helicopter itself has a camera, but Perseverance, the rover, will literally be watching Ingenuity make its flights. It will be filming it. We will be able to see it once that beams back down to Earth. So it's really going to be amazing. It will be the first ever powered flight on another world. First powered flight on an alien planet. It will be the first, so many things. And this is just a tech demonstration. It's not going to be, flying all over the planet doing crazy science, because this is going to be the first time that it's ever been possible. Now, it might seem like, I have a drone at home. I can just fly it right off the ground. Why is it that big of a deal? Obviously we should be able to do this. It doesn't seem that difficult, but you have to remember that Mars is a lot different from Earth. Mars only has a fraction of an atmosphere. You know, Mars does not have the thick, luscious atmosphere that we have here on Earth. And so with such little atmosphere, it makes it really challenging to get something like even this tiny helicopter off the ground. It needs a lot of power, really, really get tough to get up. So Ingenuity is going to make this inaugural flight, and it's going to be super cool. Super cool.
Well, I cannot wait to see just the pictures and videos. Anything that's going to come from Perseverance comes back. We're all going to be on that website, especially the social media content creators and and distributors. We can as soon as something new comes out, we're like, oh, we're going to get on social media immediately. We're going to go right now. So we're all thrilled about this and what's happening and what's coming. And let's talk about. So another piece of this is actually something that is going to possibly help us with getting humans to Mars, and that's the MOXIE part of the platform. I'm sorry, part of the whole entire rover. I guess platform. I guess it could be a platform if it wanted to be. So we're just super excited about this one too. And let me make sure that I say it correctly. It is the Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment. So that's what MOXIE means. It is a surprise NASA acronym. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Definitely. So MOXIE is this. It looks like a little cube, but it is a really cool experiment. So what it's going to do is it's going to take Martian atmosphere, which is mostly just carbon dioxide, and it's going to break it apart to turn it into just pure oxygen. Now you might think, oh, it's going to turn atmosphere into oxygen. We're making air on Mars so we can breathe it. It seems like that's the case, but they're actually turning Martian air into oxygen to turn that oxygen into rocket fuel, rocket propellant,
so we can get back.
Yeah, right. Pure oxygen is a great rocket propellant when used properly. And so basically their whole goal for this is to eventually scale up MOXIE. MOXIE will be the experiment. They'll scale it up. And when future astronauts get to Mars, they'll be able to then create their own rocket fuel using something like MOXIE to get home to Earth, because you can't launch from Mars back to Earth if your rocket doesn't have any fuel in it. And I don't know, if I'm going to Mars, I would like to think that there could be a return trip home, right?
I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm totally down for the idea of going and not coming back. I really seriously am. I'm not saying that I was totally down with it with Mars 1, but I can say, let me put it this way. I can say I'd be down to go to Mars without a for sure system to get me back, because of like, if I'm going with, because I'm not saying that I'm going to end up being an astronaut. I'm probably going to end up going with like SpaceX. So, yeah, I believe I can see them developing the technology to come back, even if we don't have it originally. So that's kind of where I'm at on it. So I've watched Starship, go from, the Hopper 2 years ago to, we're like, within the next couple of weeks, I would say let me give them the next months. Within the next couple months, we're going to see them land that thing. And that thing is crazy. Like, Starship is incredible. So
I'll just keep my fingers crossed on that one. I'm not going to make any promises.
No, I'm not going to. And I can't make any promises. Like, I don't want anybody to take bets on me or anything like that. Don't go to Vegas or anything. But I don't know. I feel pretty confident in them, and I can't wait. And I just want to go watch one. I'm excited to go down there and hopefully stream one here soon. So not to get too far off topic, but absolutely love everything that's going on with Perseverance. Cannot wait to see what comes next. We're going to just Google it. Honestly, if you Google Perseverance at all right now,
absolutely no bias, but you could check it out at space.com.
And I was getting ready to say, honestly, if you Google, more often than not, if you Google something space.com comes up many times even before NASA does. And that's saying something. Or they're right beside of each other, like, if you do the link. But
actually, if you Google the words Perseverance rover today,
I was going to say
fireworks.
You get fire. You get red fireworks.
I stole your thunder.
No. Totally, you're right. But you get red fireworks if you Google it today. And somebody told me there's another one too. Hold on 1 second. Let me find it real quick. It's on Twitter. We got to go to Twitter.
The best news source.
It's from a wonderful space artist. She's actually, I've worked with her before, and she's amazing. Beth Kerner, Space Ace. Let me find it. Where'd it go? Because it's not just Google. It is also, she's posted a lot today. Her and her twin sister Kathy both have matching matching opportunity and spirit on their shoulders, and they're twins.
Tattoos.
And they're twins. Yeah, so it makes it even
Nice.
cooler. Yeah. They're pretty awesome. I am not seeing it, and I saw it earlier. It's literally how I knew to look it up, and now I can't find the tweet. Oh, it's going to kill me. Okay, well, I'll keep looking while we talk about some other stuff. So honestly, that's it. We talked about the mission, but you got to be in it yesterday. You got to be at JPL. So first, yeah, and I'm super jelly. So let's talk a little bit about what the experience was like. What the atmosphere was like, the people you got to interview. Just give us a brain dump of everything you got to experience yesterday, or even the last couple days. I think. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I've been there for the last 3 days, off and on. So this was my first time at NASA JPL ever. I'm usually on the East Coast. I'm either at NASA Wallops or Kennedy down in Florida. So this was, going to JPL has been something that I've always wanted to do, and I am already itching to go back and stay and never leave. But it was different than it would be, and than it has been in other years. Obviously, we're still smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. So most things were closed on site at JPL. So I couldn't really see too much of it, but I got to, check out the media tent, which was super cool because there was a life-size giant model of Perseverance. This huge car-sized rover, and they even had a model of Ingenuity, the Mars helicopter. So I got to kind of see Ingenuity in person, which was so cool. It was also a lot less crowded than it usually would have been. Obviously for safety reasons. But everyone that I met there was just over the moon, pun intended. Everyone was just thrilled and excited. It's just amazing to see how even the people who are highest up at NASA, the people who are running the show at NASA, are just as excited and passionate about all of this as all of us. So it was really great to talk to everyone and interact with everyone and kind of feel the atmosphere and the excitement ahead of the landing. I got to talk to a number of scientists, a number of engineers. I talked to one of the engineer who built the bolts that are going to be drilling into the surface, the drill bits that are going to be getting that material that we're going to collect and bring back to Earth. I got to talk to some planetary scientists. And I spoke with Dr. Z, Thomas Zurbuchen, the Associate Administrator for the Science Mission Directorate at NASA, because he's played such a huge role in Mars 2020 in general. So, it was really great. I got to talk to so many amazing people at NASA, and I got to just listen to them and listen to their excitement. I talked to people before and after the landing, and if I told you no one was crying after it landed, I would be lying. There were tears in people's eyes. They were just thrilled. It was amazing. And yes, I'll admit it, there were some Mars Krispy Kreme donuts. I don't want to brag, but there were. I'm sorry.
Everybody had them yesterday. And so what's funny
I'm sorry.
Well, there was a friend of mine that I honestly thought, and I think that they tried, like they asked me for my address, and then they said something about asked me if I ate donuts, if I could still eat donuts because of what, some things that have been going on. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, I would totally eat a donut. Like I'll eat one, I can share them with people. Yeah. But they didn't show up, so I think that there just wasn't one close enough to me because I honestly don't know where the closest one to me is. I can't remember the last time. It was Krispy Kreme, right? Yeah. Or was it Dunkin' Donuts? Okay, it was Krispy Kreme.
Ron, Krispy Kreme.
Well, I see Dunkin' Donuts all over here, but I don't remember the last time I saw a Krispy Kreme.
Finding an actual in-person Krispy Kreme store, they're only in certain states and certain areas.
And I have not seen. I'm not saying it's not here. Honestly, I guess I could Google it. But so I didn't get to have one, and as the show went along, more and more people had them, and I'm just like, some people didn't say it, but they talked about it in private chat. I'm like, I would really go for possibly one of those right now. So, and I had friends that drove for quite some time to get one, but
same.
I'm so glad that they had some there, and as they should have. How could they not? I still haven't been to JPL yet. I can't wait. I go to LA a lot, and I didn't really have too many connections there. My buddy that worked there left a couple years ago, the one and only Kevin J. DeBruin, the awesome Fit Rock former. I don't know if he's still the Fit Rocket scientist or not. I can't keep up with him. Now he's an author, and he's American Ninja Warrior. He does all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. He's super awesome. So, but Bobak, that means next time I come, man, I'm texting you so that way I can come. I got to come see the place. But I've only ever heard very cool things about it. So I'm glad you got to have such an amazing experience. But so obviously you leave, you get done, you have all this information that's packed into your head now. You've watched the launch, you've interviewed all these people. How do you take all that information and then decide how to put that into a limited amount of paragraphs for a space.com article? How do you determine with all that how you're going to put those pieces together? I think people will be kind of fascinated to know like how your mind works with something like that.
Sure. I mean, that's the whole challenge of the job of science communication. Even when we're not having a huge global excitement event like the Mars landing, how do you take a really niche, complicated 300-page long scientific paper and turn that into a short article that's both accessible for normal people, people who aren't the scientists who wrote it, and fun and interesting and exciting, and that makes people care about what it means. That's the whole challenge in all of this. And so, the last 3 days have certainly been a bit extreme in terms of scheduling and figuring out how to do all of this. Yesterday was kind of funny because, because most of the facilities at JPL are closed to those who don't have to be in those spaces, like media such as myself. I spent a lot of time yesterday in my car, in my rental car, typing on my laptop with my phone as a hotspot, trying to remember what people said to me, but also, of course, I record the conversations and going through things. But I think once you do something like science communication for a while, you get good at hearing the highlights. I listen to everything and I hear everything, but my brain starts sorting out, oh, Dr. Z said this about working through the coronavirus pandemic, and that was really interesting, and put things in different perspective, and your brain just starts processing that information in a different way and organizing it in a different way, and it's a lot of fun.
I love it. And okay, so honestly, this is kind of a first, because this is interesting, because I got the question on my Twitter where I retweeted what you tweeted, and we actually have a question from Sergey. I honestly don't know the answer to this question, and I'm not entirely sure. And I can't help but look out the side of my eye, and Kim Kardashian is apparently filed for divorce. It's just too funny to just like, what?
I'm like is that in the comments? Like, who's talking about
No. Like, I saw it on the right of my eye, and I'm just like, oh my God, that actually finally happened. Will the rover look for signs of water precipitation, thousands of years ago from passing comets? I have no clue if that has anything to do with this mission, but it's a cool question.
Yeah, I mean, with every recent, at least, rover mission and any probe that we send to Mars, we're always keeping our eye out for water, right? I mean, the instruments at the end of Perseverance's robotic arm are going to be detecting minerals and things like that. But by looking at those minerals, we can determine if they were likely surrounded by water. I mean, Perseverance landed in an ancient lake, so we know that there was water there. I think that it would be probably pretty difficult to suss out if a tiny fraction of that water came from some kind of passing comet at some point in time, billions and billions of years ago. I don't think Perseverance is specifically looking for that. If they found out that was the case, that would be really interesting. But I do know that, eyes are always peeled for water on Mars, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't even know that we would go from thousands of years ago. We would probably go with that's how the water formed there billions of years ago.
Billions, yeah.
And
like
so
and a half plus billions.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to look probably just further back than that, Serge. So, I mean, it's an interesting question. So thank you for throwing it out at us. That's for sure. And, honestly, in a way, this kind of leads into my next question, because you got to do something really cool earlier this year, something I've wanted to do for a while, which is you did an analog mission. You did a Mars analog mission.
You should
I want to, but it's also, I have to be like, hey, bosses, I'm taking off 2 weeks to go do this. And since I can't technically report on it, I think they would let me make like a YouTube video and be able to do some stuff with it, but I'd have to sell the boss on it. So I gotta talk to funny enough, I gotta talk to my Tom Z. I also have a Tom Z. our awesome CEO, Tom Zellabor. So I'd have to talk to him about it, be like, I want to go to Hawaii for 2 weeks and do a Mars analog, and I'm going to talk about it and put it on social media. What do you think, boss? We'll see what he says. But you actually, you got to do that. You actually got to do it with a mutual friend of ours, Beth Mund, which was awesome.
Yeah,
so,
Beth is best. Beth is fantastic. Yeah,
she's amazing. She was one of the co-hosts with me almost all day yesterday. She was in and out. It was great to have her. She is amazing. If you've never seen Casual Space Podcast, please go check it out. She is she used to work at NASA as a communicator, I believe, and it's obvious. It's all over. I actually told her, like, I would love to have her read like half of my favorite space books. And I also think she should be on calm.com.
Well, she does voiceover work too. She's a great voice. She's a great speaking voice.
Yep.
She has an amazing podcast. She actually did episodes with each member of the crew from our analog mission. Beth Mund. We love you, Beth.
We love you, Beth. Yeah, we're Beth. Now that we're done with our mini commercial for Beth, but generally what we're talking about is the things that we might find on Mars and the resources. And you got to go and do a few different ideas of testing for that with this analog mission. So tell us all about what the experience was like. A couple weeks with strangers. You're in Hawaii. You're in the middle of. It's a very remote location. It's got to be kind of crazy. What were some of the things that happened with you? We'll start with that. Tell us the good stuff first, and then we want to talk about kind of maybe some of the crazy challenges and stuff that you went through.
Definitely. I spent 2 weeks at High Seas. It's an analog research facility. They do analog Mars and analog moon missions, anywhere from 2 weeks to they've had missions up to 4 months. I think potentially even longer if my memory does not serve me incorrectly. And I spent 2 weeks basically living, working, breathing, and even eating as if I was living on Mars. That meant me and 5 of my crewmates were living in this tiny white dome on the side of a volcano. It really looked like Mars out the window. It was only red lava rock as far as the eye could see. Very cool, very Martian. And we could only go outside if we went through the airlock, if we were in a proper spacesuit, helmet, life support backpack. And it was really unbelievable. I think the highlight for me was absolutely the EVA. So EVA stands for extravehicular activity, also known as a spacewalk. And in my first few days there, I got to suit up, put on a spacesuit for the first time, and with a few of my crewmates, with, of course, 2 staying back for safety and to communicate with us from the habitat, we trekked out onto the side of this volcano that really does look and feel like Mars. We were scrambling over these porous, challenging, slippery lava rocks, and we descended into a real live lava tube. And we know there are lava tubes like that on Mars. In fact, they're considering building human habitats when we put humans on Mars in those lava tubes under the surface of Mars. So it was really an unbelievable adventure. Of course, when it comes to space travel, you have to expect the unexpected. So we had issues with power. We may have had issues with water. We may have had constant storms, but we still got a ton of amazing research done, a ton of amazing exploration done. I lived my best Mark Watney life. I ate a lot of potatoes. We had this big can of what were called potato gems, dehydrated potato gems. And when we did have water, we would just kind of heat that up on a little hot plate and mix it with these potato gems, and it would kind of turn into mashed potatoes. They were pretty good at the time. And those are shelf stable for, I believe, 30 years. So we were really living, working, and eating as if we were on Mars. It was really challenging, living with 5 strangers in extreme circumstances. We were there through the election. We were there through the Crew 1 launch. We were there through a lot of really challenging technical difficulties, but, we did a lot of problem solving. We had a lot of fun. I really, really loved the crew that I was there with. We even had a little bit of time for creative things. I did a little concert. We did some watercolor painting using iron oxide powder, which is iron oxide is what makes Mars red. So we were literally painting with Mars materials and singing songs and doing science, and it was incredible.
Amazing. So I actually, this is something I've never asked anybody that's done this before. Mm-hmm. How extreme do the conditions have to get before they say that we have to cancel this mission? And I know that they've got those in place. There's no way that they would have anybody unsafe.
Definitely. I mean, it has happened. There have been missions where they've had to break simulation. Basically, it just comes down to health and safety. So if there is one person who, is in danger or something happens, if there is a health issue, we are in constant contact, delayed communications, but there are emergency systems where we can be suddenly in real-time Earth communications with emergency systems on the island, the emergency systems and health systems know that we're there. And if anything were to happen, that person or the group would break sim to make sure whoever is in danger or unsafe is immediately taken care of as soon as possible, as well as possible. Now, it is possible for one person to leave the simulation if they're in danger, if they're having issues, and for the rest of the team to carry on. However, there have to be a certain number of people at the habitat on a mission for safety reasons. You can't have just one or two people living alone in that habitat for it to be a safe mission. And it also wouldn't be realistic. NASA isn't going to send one person by themselves to Mars.
True.
That's just not going to happen. But yeah, there's a lot of safety systems in place. So things have to get pretty bad for people to want to break simulation, because of course, if you're there, you're really into it and don't want to break. But whenever health comes into question, you break simulation. Luckily, we didn't have to. Even when we completely were out of water, which was, it was a bit of a crisis situation. But, we all kept calm. We problem solved. There was one tiny stream of water. We collected as much as we could as a reserve tank. And we had remote drones from the island, help us fix our water pump outside of the habitat. And they delivered some emergency water rations because, we're not going to die of dehydration. We're still here on Earth. We're fine.
Fantastic. I love that. It's like remote drones. Yeah, with lasers on their heads. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that sounds like an incredible experience. I can't wait to be involved. I've got to have probably dozens of friends now that have done it. So it is something I'm really looking forward to. Maybe I can convince the bosses to it. So Rich, if you're listening, we're going to have to pitch this to Tom one day. So the last thing I really want to talk to you about is you also had another really cool experience. One, I had the experience, but mine was a little different because it was with Project Possum. But you got to do a micro G flight with 0G, and you got to talk about all of it. But you also did it in a very interesting circumstance. You did it during the time of COVID. So everybody's in mask and they're all separated from each other. So I'm really interested in kind of how amazing the experience was. And then two, how you were able to kind of do it with the way that it is now. Like, it's probably limited. I'm sure it's a completely different experience than what it was a year, maybe like directly a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was just about a year ago now. Wow, geez. I've never done it when it wasn't during COVID. I've only done it this one time, so I wouldn't know what it was like otherwise. But yeah, it was a much smaller group than would normally go up in a plane. They try to keep everyone as separate as possible. It is definitely a challenge to remain COVID safe in this situation because you're not on the ground, you're floating, no gravity. But of course, everyone is masked up. And through the whole process, everyone is masked up. Everyone's temperature checked as soon as you arrive on site. Getting there, they're not putting people in groups with other people to get there. There are a lot of new procedures that they've put in place to keep people safe. I don't think that hindered my experience at all. I think I would have felt pretty uncomfortable if that was not in place. And I don't think I would have gone if they weren't being COVID safe like that. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. Not to get too graphic, but it's possible I may have puked once or twice. Few times, but and it's enough of a challenge puking in microgravity. I don't recommend it. But when you add a mask into that situation, things get a little challenging. If you notice, I go onto the plane in one mask, I leave the plane in a different mask. Things happened,
So I will be honest with you. So I had a moment when not me. There was somebody that was with us that was on our flight. A wonderful guy. And by the way, for anybody that's never done this, you have no idea how your body is going to react. You can take the medication, you can eat light foods, you can do whatever you want to, and that's what this person did. And that person got sick. At midnight the night before, I had a pizza with hot banana peppers on it. and I was completely fine. It never messed with me at all.
Yeah.
Now, like the last parabola, I started to feel like kind of weird pressures in strange places that we did, but that had nothing to do, like I never got anywhere to where I felt nauseous. But
I mean, my mistake was I ate all the right things. I didn't eat all the wrong things. I didn't take any Dramamine. And I didn't think that would be an issue. But when you see people doing this, you watch the videos and your brain is like, I think I know what that feels like. It looks like they're, I've been on roller coasters. I've floated in the ocean. I've floated in the Dead Sea, whatever. I can kind of imagine what that feels like. Absolutely. You have no idea. Really its own feeling, as you know, Ron. So it's impossible to prepare your body and your brain for what it's going to feel like. And a lot of people I've spoken to, they puke through their whole first flight and then go on to do 20 more flights where they're totally fine. So, it's definitely different. And I think it's definitely different from astronauts going to space, right? On a 0G flight, you're in microgravity, you're back down on the ground. You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. Whereas as an astronaut, you go up, you stay for 6 months, you come back down. So it's certainly really its own thing, its own feeling. Yeah, definitely.
And well, one of the things that I wanted to mention was, so somebody did get sick on our flight, but what I thought was super cool about it was that for a moment, because not to be so, if you're sensitive, please plug your ears for the next part. It was mostly liquid, but because it was mostly liquid, it did just like what happens whenever you see like Scott Kelly or a video. It did the whole orb thing. So for about 5 seconds, I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. It's almost like a science experiment. Until, of course, everything went wrong from there. But there was no mask when I did it. But at first, it was just like, that's just like I saw. But that takes you to a different level if you want to go to space. Like,
Absolutely.
Loving watching the International Space Station and seeing all the experiments they do. For a couple seconds, like my mind didn't even understand. I mean, it understood what was going on, but I was so fascinated by the fact.
But your brain is like, that doesn't make sense. Gravity shouldn't allow that.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And to see that that's the way that it happens. And it was just for a second, my brain just couldn't even really comprehend how nerdy and cool it was that this liquid had done this thing. Now, then, of course, everything came back together and we got the person cleaned up, got them out of their seat and so on, and everything was fine. But that was also an experience too, because now you have to think on your feet. You have to help your teammate who's going through this, and you don't have a whole lot of time. As you know, you come out of the parabola and then
boom.
Yeah, you get myself and another one of the teammates cleaned up as quick as we could, got back in our seats, and we were able to do a bunch more parabolas before we had to end it just a little bit early, but we got to do the majority of the tests that we needed to do for Possum. So it was an incredible experience, but it's a weird thing that that sucked for that person, but also to see it just was that mind-blowing experience that connected me to the astronauts on the space station that I would have never thought of. Like, it's just weird how these things can happen. So I'm glad you had an awesome experience, other than the fact that you got a little bit ill.
I don't regret it at all. I may have puked a lot. Who's to say? Who's to say? Yeah, but even that was a really bizarre hands-on experimental learning experience. I did this fun short doc about the experience for space.com, and it also it's like, it's a really interesting fluid dynamics experiment.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it really is. I mean, it's not one that I would voluntarily choose to do again. I would fly in 0G again. I would probably take different, more extreme precautions.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, the whole thing, it really, because you can see it happening in the videos of the space station, you can see it, but I mean, experiencing it is bizarre in the most amazing way.
I can't agree more. And so, Chelsea, it's been an awesome conversation with you today. Thank you for joining us after a very busy day yesterday. We appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your experiences, all the awesome stuff you do. Everybody, go check out Chelsea. You can find her on Twitter. She talks about all the cool stuff that she's up to. Chelsea_Gohd. You can go find her there. She does incredible work. She's also a musician. If you don't know that, you can find more details out for Foxin. So if you haven't checked out her music, she even has a song about Mars, which is pretty awesome. And doing all kinds of great stuff. Space.com. Check out their work. hopefully we get to see you at Space Symposium. Space.com always has, and Space News both always have a great group of people out. So we are looking forward to doing that in person this year. Let's go vaccines, and we'll see what happens. So hopefully we get to have you out here to check out our big event that we do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me, Ron. This has been super fun.
Everybody, thank you for joining us today. It's been a great time. Do not forget, we are not done with our programming at Space Foundation Discovery Center. Tomorrow you can come to Celebrating Perseverance. It is an all-day event with all kinds of cool stuff. You need to be there. We open early. We close in the afternoon, 10 to 4. I believe it's 10 to 4. 10 to 4. Come in, see us. We've got all kinds of fun stuff that you're going to have to be able to do all throughout the day tomorrow. Also in partnership with our friends at Garden of the Gods. Never been to Garden of the Gods. It's super awesome. Just big, beautiful red rock things. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We will see you on the next special episode, and we have no idea when that will be because we don't do them that often. But do check out our podcast, Space4U. Comes out every most Fridays. Not every Friday, most Fridays, and always has amazing guests. So we'll see you all on the next one. Peace, everybody.